Today we're going to talk about how to do dual steppers for one axis. A lot of people have been asking how to do two steppers on the Z-axis. Now there's a software solution I want to show you first, but there'll be a couple other videos explaining other ways to do it. Now this is for the Big Tree Tech SKR version 1.3, and as you can tell, this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis, this is the z-axis, this is E0 and E1. Now I pre-prepped the board. Normally it comes with the jumpers on all these pins, and then these pins are empty. So in the case of the z-axis, I moved them to MS 0, 1, and 2. Now this will make more sense if you watch my tutorial for the A4988 and DRV8825 configuration. It'll explain in great detail how to set it up. So the two axes that we're going to use to do the z-axis in this case are going to be the z-axis and E1 for our extruder 1, which is actually extruder 2. So first thing that we need to know is where the enable pin is on this so that we can properly connect it. So if you look on the bottom, what you'll see is the enable pin is over here. So if we rotate it over, we know that the enable pin is right here on the z-axis. So all you have to do is insert it like so. Now double check your other one to make sure it's the same. The enable pin is here, so we're going to rotate it over and we're going to place it on E1, which is our second extruder. And that's how you set up that portion for stepping. Now in order to load the firmware to do this with software, we're going to need to connect the USB. So you're going to take the big side of the USB and you're going to connect it right here, and you're going to keep your drive inserted for your TF drive, and then you're going to take the small end of the USB serial and you're going to connect it to the computer, and you're going to hear a beep. And in a moment I'll show you a little bit more about the Marlin firmware, but I just need to point out one thing about these. First of all, if you're using two steppers, they may not be in sync due to the calibration with the potentiometer. So they may not be super precise. You'll have to calibrate them on your own, or watch one of my other videos for the MKS Gen L that talks about how to do it. So I'm going to connect the stepper driver over here for E1 and the stepper driver for the Z-axis so that we're set up with our stepper motors here. Okay, to start with, I want to tell you about the USB drive for your SKR version 1.3. On it you have firmware.cur. That's your current firmware, and note the date and time because this will be interesting later. We're going to go over to Atom, and we're going to use PlatformIO to edit our files. So to open it, what you would normally do is go to Open Folder, and you're going to open up the Marlin 2.0.x that's unzipped from the Marlin website, and you'll open it here. But I already have it open for saving time, we'll say. So the first thing that we need to do is go to the source folder, which is in the Marlin folder, then the core folder, and then we need to open up boards.h. So we're going to do a Control F, and we're going to search on SKR, and the board that we're looking for is board underscore bigtree underscore SKR underscore V1 underscore 3. So we're going to copy that. We're going to close out of these folders. We're going to go to the configuration.h. And the configuration.h, we're going to do a search on motherboard. And we're going to replace board underscore ramps underscore 14 underscore EFB with what we just copied. Then we're going to scroll up a little bit, and right here we have our serial port. We need to change the 0 to a -1 because our configuration uses it. And then the next thing we need to do is search on A4988. And what we have here are all our steppers. So what I'm going to do is remove the comment for X, even though we're not using it. I'm going to remove the comment for Y, and I'm going to remove the comment for Z, and then I'm also going to do E0, which is our first extruder, and then E1, which would be our second. Now, because we're using the A4988 for our stepper driver, we're not going to change anything here, but I'm going to show you down below something that you have to keep in mind. So we're going to search on max underscore, and right here for default underscore axis underscore steps underscore per underscore unit. The z-axis in this case is default 4000. Now keep in mind that because we're using two stepper drivers, it's hard to calibrate with this, so they need to be exactly in sync electrically in order to use this. So we're going to leave this alone for now. Next, we're going to go to the configuration underscore advanced.h, so it's AD advanced, and we're going to search on dual. And what we have here is dual steppers or dual end stops. So in this case, we're just going to be using the dual steppers. So we're going to scroll down and we're going to look for right here. This is normally commented out, but I've just removed the comment earlier, so it's uncommented. So we need to use this in order to set up our dual steppers. It'll automatically default to E1, as it says up in the description up here, for the extra E drivers. In this case, we only have one. And then keep in mind that there are other settings that you can try out for dual end stops if you so choose. And that applies both to the Y and the X axis as well for dual steppers and end stops. But I'm going to leave that out to keep this brief so you know the functionality. So the next step is to go to PlatformIO.ini and open that up. And currently our environment default is set to Mega, ATmega 2560. We need to change that to our chipset for our board, which is down here. For the SKR version 1.3, it's LPC 1768, so we're going to copy that. And note that it's for the ARM Cortex M3. So we're going to go back up to our default environment, and we're going to paste it right here. And then all we have to do is press the upload button, which will compile and then upload our changes to our TF drive on our SKR version 1.3. Okay, the compilation is finished and the upload is complete, but to verify that it's successful, we go to toggle build panel, and as you can see it says success. So we're going to go over to the drive for the SKR version 1.3, and as you can see there's a file that says firmware.cur for our current firmware, and note the date and time, and then note the time for the firmware.bin, because when I disconnect the USB drive it's going to allegedly copy over to firmware.cur. So let's see what happens. So as it's updated. Okay, off camera, I hooked up the power supply and I'm about to plug it in. Now keep in mind, for safety's sake, do not touch the board. It is now active with voltage and under load. Okay, in the Pronterface folder, we have pronterface.exe. We're going to open this up. we're going to connect to the device, and as you can see it says connecting, and now it says printer online. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the Z-axis 1 millimeter, and we'll see what happens. So here we go. Okay, now that we've seen it move, let's try 10 millimeters and see what happens. So if you like my tutorial, please press the like button and subscribe, and thank you for your time.